Now on WLKY, this is breaking news.
And we are continuing to follow late breaking news in downtown Louisville at 12:30. A gas leak has prompted evacuations in the area of 5th and Market Streets. Here's a live look now at the scene from WLKY News Chopper.
And Metro Hall and other city government offices were evacuated because of this. We're going to check in now with Mayor Craig Greenberg, who's giving an update on the situation. Let's listen in.
In that general vicinity. As a precaution, Louisville Fire Department, of course, responded, and then as a precaution, started evacuating the buildings in that area between 5th and 6th Street, between Jefferson and Market Streets. This includes our offices behind me in Metro Hall, the Sheriff's Office, and the County Clerk's Office. Right now, crews are on the scene from the Louisville Fire Department, LG&E, and MSD to determine exactly where the gas leak is coming from and to make the needed repairs to it as quickly as possible. As a result of the elevated levels of gas that were in buildings, we declared a level 2 hazmat situation for this immediate vicinity. And as a result, we've asked people to please avoid this area, this part of downtown, while we continue to respond to this and to fix this situation. I'm going to now turn it over to Assistant Chief of the Louisville Fire Department, Bobby Cooper, who's going to talk more about Louisville Fire Department's response this morning, what they found, what's going on, how the repairs are going right now. Assistant Chief Cooper.
Thank you, Mayor. The Mayor did a great job of concisely explaining what's happened up to this point. I have a lot of information, so please accept my apology if I'm looking down a little bit at the notes, but I want to make sure I'm giving you accurate information. Again, we got the call just after 9:20. Our crews responded to the scene of 5th and Jefferson to the odor of natural gas in buildings as well as outside buildings. We immediately dispatched our hazmat companies. We currently have 2 hazmat companies on scene as well as 8 units, which equals about 40 members of the Louisville Fire Department. When we initially got on scene, we began monitoring the air. We quickly picked up on dangerous levels, high levels of natural gas outside and inside buildings, as well as within the sewer system. At that point, we need to mitigate. So we need to evacuate the area. We need to make sure that we get people out. And we need to start to try to lower those levels of gas that are in the area. So the best way that we can do that, again, that was in the sewer system as well as inside buildings, is to send crews into the buildings to begin taking readings with our meters in buildings, get people out, and then begin ventilating those buildings, whether it be open up windows or in the sewer system in that case, is to open the manholes. MSD was requested to the scene as well as LG&E. They were on scene quickly. LG&E was able to assist us in monitoring the area for those levels. MSD did a tremendous job of helping us pop the manhole covers as well as monitor what those levels might be within the sewer system. So a tremendous thank you to them and support from them as well. So this is a hazmat. So this is a level 2 hazmat. A level 1 hazmat is essentially just making notifications to public health, MSD, and other agencies. Level 2 gets a little bit more complex when we get into evacuations. It initiates a lens alert, which was sent out by MetroSafe. That lens alert was to avoid the area. And then we used our personnel to go door to door, building to building, to remove people from the buildings to get them outside. We ultimately ended up evacuating from 5th to 6th and Jefferson to Market, and then another half block east of 5th. So we evacuated all souls, all people within those buildings. We set up a perimeter. We are requesting no foot traffic and no vehicle traffic from 4th to 6th and Chestnut to Liberty. So again, our Chestnut to Market, I believe we said. I'll get you those exact streets in a second. But what we're asking now, we've sent out that lens alert. And what we need now is we need the public support. It's the middle of the afternoon. It's a work day, and we have people that are still walking through the area. They see the fire line tape that we have up, the yellow tape. Just be cautious. Understand that it's an ongoing mitigation. It's a dangerous situation, or at least it was. We were able to decrease those limits, those explosive limits, very quickly once we started to ventilate the sewers and the buildings. We also have some natural ventilation today, luckily with a lot of wind that's helping us to ventilate stuff. So when LG&E was on scene, they need to identify where the leak is coming from. They believe they have done that now. We don't have confirmation yet. We're still waiting on that. But they believe that that leak is coming from an 8-inch plastic line that runs down 5th Street that is between Jefferson and Market. So they have now isolated that area. They have shut down the gas to that, and they're doing further inspection to make sure that is where the leak is coming from. Once they confirm that, we'll continue to monitor the area. We'll continue to go through every building to make sure that people are out. We've evacuated all those buildings already, and we'll continue to do that even once we confirm that we've shut down where that leak is. A question that I anticipate you all may have is what causes these things? And the truth is we are not 100% sure yet. That'll be part of the investigation that LG&E does. But with the freeze and the thaw of ground and utilities that run through the sewer system, it's completely possible that may be the cause of it. It could be anything else. If you have an odor of gas in your building, call 911. We're receiving calls from beyond the area that we've evacuated. Let us know. We'll send a crew there. We'll come. We'll monitor your building to check to see if it's safe or if you need to get out or if we need to mitigate any further. Again, think of rain. We recognized what the situation was. We recognized what the hazmat was, natural gas. We then evacuated the area. We had people avoid the area. So we recognized, we avoided the area. Now we're isolating what that leak is, and we've made the notifications that we need to make. Now we need the public to help us just to keep the area clear. Are there any questions?
Hold on one second before we get to questions. Thank you, Assistant Chief Cooper. Before we get to questions, Brian Bingham is the Chief Operations Officer of MSD, whose crews are also on the scene working with LG&E. He's going to share a few words about what MSD has been doing, and then after that, we'll go right into questions to take your questions. Brian?
Thank you, sir. Again, Brian Bingham with MSD, and we're here in a couple of different capacities supporting the Hazardous Materials Ordinance and working to keep the community safe. We're here, I think the most important one at the moment is to help open up those manhole lids and open the system up so it can be ventilated and assist Louisville Fire. And they're doing a tremendous job in monitoring what's going on there. We've got crews that are able to do that quickly, and that has greatly helped to reduce those levels. The second capacity I'm here is we have the Hazardous Materials Ordinance, so we've got a couple of people assisting Louisville Fire again with looking into that and making sure that everything is done properly. But you know, the big thing that the chief and the mayor have said, the quick reaction and getting it opened up and then getting people out of the area was the critical nature of things. Thank you.
That's a great question. So, and I'm sorry I missed that, but the question was, were there any injuries, anyone with medical attention? So there was nobody directly related to the incident. We did have a bystander who was near the corner of 6th and Jefferson who was having an asthma attack. We had EMS crews already on scene, and they attended to her. I don't know if the person was transported or not, but we don't even believe that was associated with this incident. That's a number that we can't get right now. We'll have that eventually, probably by the end of the day, but it'll be difficult to account for those exact numbers at this point. No, tomorrow we'll evaluate the situation, but in all likelihood they'll be able to come back. With that being said, understand that if it is that line that goes down 5th Street from Jefferson to Market, that's going to be some pretty substantial work that LG&E is going to begin, and they're probably going to begin it right away. So that could limit access to the area. It is for now, and depending on when they isolate that leak and shut that leak down. So if they shut the leak down, if they identified the leak on 5th Street, which they've now shut down, if they confirm that that's it, then we'll continue to monitor the air. As long as those levels continue to go down, then we'll be able to bring people back. But in all likelihood, by the end of the workday, you should stay home. No, it's pretty sudden. Again, we got MetroSafe initially received calls around 9:20, and it was several calls that came in.
And just to And just in terms of the buildings, I mean, right behind us is basically the scene of the buildings that have been evacuated right now. My office and our team and lots of Louisville Metro government offices are in Metro Hall directly behind us. On the other side of the alley going further south is where the sheriff is, and the building you can see directly behind us. And next to that, the county clerk's office, the First Trust Center. There are also private sector businesses located there as well. That's the primary block that's been evacuated, plus the additional area that Assistant Chief Cooper mentioned. Hold on one second. Yeah, yes. The jail has not been impacted. Nothing west of 6th Street is impacted by this evacuation or by the smells at this time. So City Hall, people are still working in City Hall building, in the Judicial Center, as well as in the jail. Isaiah? That tower also, 500 West, everyone is in there. That tower has not been evacuated. It's just, it is north of Market Street, north of Jefferson Street, east of 6th, west of 5th, and south of Market. Isaiah?
Again, it's hard to give a good description of it, but it's a plastic line. That's the diameter that we're referencing when we give that size, that 8-inch size. Utilities that run through the sewer system. MSD could speak more to that, but again, we're not sure that is what it is. Once we do know what it is and exactly where that leak is, LG&E will conduct an investigation. I'm sure MSD will be involved, and we will as well. And then they'll be able to give you more information about the exact line.
Well, it's definitely getting better. As Assistant Chief Cooper said, we believe that LG&E has identified the location of the leak with the ventilation. We've reduced the levels significantly, but out of precaution, we're continuing to keep people out of the buildings until we know we've identified the source of the leak.
So understand this, that at 10% LEL is actionable on our part. So oftentimes you have gas leaks, say, in a home, in a dwelling. If we get 10% LEL readings in a home, we're going to do something. We're going to evacuate. We had levels well above that. So it was a dangerous situation. And the LFD, the crews that responded on the scene, took the perfect response of evacuating the buildings, of immediately ventilating, knowing what they had, to lower those limits as quickly as possible in a highly populated area. So while it was a dangerous situation early on, they mitigated it very quickly. Where we are now is minimal readings. I just got a text message. You see me looking at my phone. Those are from people who are over there right now who are getting readings from the building, and they continue to go down as we're speaking now that they have it shut down. So in all likelihood, that's what it's going to be. Again, we can't confirm that yet, but here shortly we should be able to. The question was there an explosion risk? So it's natural gas. It's flammable. It's an explosive. So yes. But again, crews on scene did a great job. There's also fail-safes that MSD has, that also LG&E has, to prevent the levels from getting too high. Again, it's good that we have a windy day today. We have air circulating, but at this point, it's safe. So the question is, was this related? That'll be part of LG&E's investigation. But yeah, when we have the hard freezes and the thaws like we've had, you have utilities that expand and contract. Those utilities run alongside each other, so it's possible that could have been what the cause was.
The only equipment I'm aware of that we put in the manholes were our meters, also to read the LEL levels to see what the gas level was inside there.
Has the gas been cut off in that pipe, correct?
It's mine.
Confirming now.
I'm gonna let you answer that.
So again, we can't confirm it until we wait a while. We've shut it down. We continue to get readings. We see that those readings continue to go down, and as long as they go down, they're eventually to zero. Then we can confirm that that's where the leak was, and then LG&E begins their repairs.
The gas has been shut off.
But the gas has been shut off. Yeah. Just the immediate vicinity. So again, it's shut down from Jefferson to Market. So those buildings that are fed off of that line are the ones that are impacted by it.
All right. Yeah, we're gonna.
All right.
We're gonna get back to work here. We'll continue to provide more updates and information throughout the day, and to the members of the media, we obviously had to cancel my weekly press briefing that was scheduled for 1 o'clock today. We're going to reschedule that for 1:30 tomorrow, where we'll talk about a whole bunch of other topics in addition to this, but we'll continue to keep you updated on this situation.